failures in order to grow.
There we go.
And
I miss casting with you, Vedius. You're always bringing me up when I'm feeling down. Chronicler would never do that.
It's okay. You're with the
Wolf would do, though.
That's great.
He's definitely my source.
I love that
of
Chronicler's just catching shots. He's just at home.
Yeah,
I know he's watching with Ezreal right now. And he's just like, hey!
Yeah. That's why it's immediately you just you default to it's Chronicler's fault.
Canna's Ambessa. Domestically, this was one of his go-to favorites. He has a lot of carry performances on the champion. And in particular, I was going to say the Vi Ambessa was something that was kind of taking the world by storm. It was a duo that had great backline access. A lot of the times you would just take it away because you'd see something like the Vi first pick and then the other team would take the Ambessa away just because of how strong she was in isolation. So it can be quite difficult on the red side to be able to get both champs, but with the priority on the Rumble, KC can lock that one in. Kaisa is then usually the follow-up AD carry to synergize with the dive potential on KC's side.
I kind of like the Skarner. Of course, Skarner has been nerfed a bunch moving into this. I think a lot of people thought that Skarner was going to be just kind of ignored for forever. I know right now in solo queue his win rate or pick rate is like in the dumpster entirely. But here, it is still something that's pretty high value. We saw Peanut find some success on it yesterday as the Ezreal is going to be the lock-in here. Kaisa then pretty comfortably going to be picked into it. I know that there's a lot of talk about the Ezreal versus Kaisa situation. Yeah. I feel like the lane is kind of fine, and it's about what happens outside of it as we get to mid and late game, where you do start to see the benefits of both champs. I think both of them trying to do very different things.
Very much agree. And I think, in particular, the comp from KC, we talked about how it's good at dive, the backline threat onto Ezreal. I mean, it's one of the champions that you really want that lockdown for. So, Doggo, he's going to have his work cut out for him as this top side is going to be looking to lock him down. The Yone ban, we talked a little bit about that earlier. I think Tristana would make a lot of sense. We'll see if KC have done their research, given that HongQ is no stranger to these AD mids, with the Ahri being taken away from Vladi. I don't think it's actually one of his comfort picks, personally. He did have a bit of a rough performance on it yesterday after falling behind early, but it's going to be removed from him. Usually, he's very well known for his Viktor in particular. You saw Team Liquid consistently banning that champion away from him, but I will say that based on the domestic series, it's not something he'll default to early. He may very well save it for later on into the series, and we'll see what direction they go.
I also feel like Viktor is a really good later in Fearless type pick because he kind of fits into a whole bunch of different compositions. Whereas an Ahri pairs with Vi pretty well.
100%.
We could say Vi Ahri has certainly been one of the more popular duos as far as jungle and mid lane. Aurora, another champion that can work alongside the punchy lady.
I don't like Aurora anymore, Atlus. I just don't.
You don't?
I think the nerf made it even worse, but I think that her conditions for success are so finite. I think she's relatively short range in terms of her burst combo. And against this composition, where already you can see CFO looking for a very front-to-back style of comp, I think that unless she's able to find flanks, it's very difficult for her impact to really be seen in the in games. And they're even taking the Viktor away from Vladi as well.
And that's the point about Fearless, right? Like, this is... You might think, oh yeah, but he's already picked his mid laner. This means that they're protected in game 2 for that one, and it also really doubles down on what you were talking about. Now, of course, a heck of a lot of magic damage coming out from CFO. We'll see whether that is going to bite them. Of course, Merc Tread's value going to be through the roof.
Oh yeah.
As Kaiwing thinking what he wants to pick up here. Leona would be very standard. Such
a traditional front-to-back. You know, great scaling, great front line, solid engage, good follow-up. It's just a very well-rounded comp that
it is a beautiful Skarner comp as well.
It certainly is. Like, there's so many ways for you to easily follow up on his engages. Meanwhile, KC, I would say that their composition is a little bit harder to execute, especially when you think about priority, right? So in the early game, Rumble, a champion that even after the repeated nerfs we've seen can still easily get priority in this matchup. Viktor into Aurora. Aurora may very well be able to get pushed early, but the moment Viktor gets his upgrade, he's immediately going to start getting priority in that lane as well. And Ezreal into Leona, I think that this is a bot lane duo that can be lethal. Especially given that Kaisa doesn't have the strongest wave clear in the early levels, and how aggressive Ezreal can be depending on how willing you are. Remember, Doggo, no stranger to the international stage. We've seen how confident he can play, especially when he came in as a sub in his debut international performance and just took the world by storm.
Yeah, this guy subbed for Uzi and looked amazing. And that just shows that you've got a fair bit of confidence. Let's just say that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one's going to go. Both of the teams with very, very different ideas as far as how to play out the game. game, right? Like, definitely so much dive on the KC side. CFO looking to play cool, calm, and collected, but with some laning prowess up and available. And this is the first time we get to see them. CFO, I think, are going to give us a lot of information as to what their power level is in comparison to the rest of the world with how these first few minutes of this game are going to go. Would you say that there's a few KC fans here in Korea?
They
I was walking around outside. I'm like, which country am I in?
Yeah,
like,
the Blue Wall, they're a dedicated fan base. They will follow the team through thick and thin. You got to remember last year, KC 10th, 4th, right? Like,
on the upward trend.
I mean, exactly. They ended up winning their first split this year, and you're going to hear the KC chants pretty consistent. Winning or losing, they will support their team to the bitter end.
I absolutely love it. It's different to what the fan chants normally are.
It's almost like I'm back at home, I will be honest.
Yeah, you got your little bit, and then we're just both now extraordinarily comfortable as we dive onto the Rift for game number 1. CFO making their first stand debut after being able to take down Talon in their final. And Talon, of course, PSG Talon being a team that we have seen on the international stage
so
many times.
Familiar names
on
that roster.
Oh, yeah. JunJia, of course, one of them, as he is now here on CFO, was replaced by Kaisa, and then Kaisa was unceremoniously dismissed in that final. So it's not Talon, it is indeed CFO that have come over instead.
And I mean, it was a very similar story for Yike, right, being benched by G2.
It's so cool, the parallels between these two teams.
Yeah, the rookie mid laners as well. And I mean, believe it or not, very experienced supports. I mean, Targamas, in terms of international experience, he doesn't have a huge amount, right? But it's easy to forget that he did win when he was playing with G2.
Yeah.
And of course, he did struggle a lot, but since being reunited with Caliste, it really feels like that he's found his footing and his form, and they've become a very reliable bot lane in EU. So I think a lot of people are excited to see this fresh blood. Obviously, it was a bit of a disappointment as nice engage comes through onto Kaiwing, but no follow-up, of course, no level 2. But yeah, I think people are excited to see what a lot of these young players can do, and a fresh face that isn't G2 representing Europe on so many international events.
Yeah, it's very strange being at an international event without G2.
I mean, I will say, it was funny seeing no T1, no BLG,
yeah,
no G2, who have been like the mainstays. A lot of new faces really looking to get recognized on the international stage.
It's okay. T1 top lane fans are eating good.
Oh, they certainly are.
There's a lot of those from across the years. So T1 fans, it's fine. You've got someone that you can cheer for almost in every single series. And especially every single series today, as we've got Canna, and then we have Impact. So really cool. Anyway, let's have a look at how this bottom lane does go. Level 2, and now that Shield of Daybreak is in, but the Grand Entrance on top of Kaiwing doesn't have his Aftershock anymore, as Doggo able to lay in a few of these Mystic shots.
A bit of a nice trade going in favor of KC's bot lane duo. Keep my eyes on the junglers as well, as we'll notice that JunJia pathing towards the bot side of the map. He's in a position to cover in the event of anything happening, or even, I mean, dive. I don't really expect something. I'm so used to the lane swaps, the early dives coming through. My first cast on the new patch, and I'm like, oh, right, it's just standard lanes across the boards.
I kind of love it. You know,
it is nice. I'm a big fan.
Because I felt so silly throughout this whole year talking about laning matchups.
Right.
I would do it for like a whole bunch of time, and then realize afterwards that it's entirely irrelevant. And so now, at least for the first few minutes, we can do that.
The great thing for me is we're really getting to see Canna thrive in this environment, because like we got to see his Camille yesterday, and so many great top laners. This was I mean, that's where they come from. This.
Oh, JunJia looking for an opportunity here, but he does get pinned down by Targamas and takes a couple of turret shots and some autos and some Macathy and Rain, and he's not exactly the most psyched about it.
Good use of the W there from Targamas to still get the knock up through onto JunJia and get the CC underneath the tower to force him to back away. The early back going to come through from Doggo, as some itemization is going to become and bought through. I notice as well the path towards the bot side of the map from Yike. I wonder if they're going to look for an early dragon, or if instead his priority is just getting that push in, providing that security, allowing them to get that wave so that they can go for a back themselves.
And Kaiwing desperately wanting to hold this wave for as long as he can. Not going to be able to deliver over the experience for all of these melees, but these couple are going to be able to come through for Doggo. So nice little back. And the resets are coming in sort of across the board. We can see top lane is yet to go home, but in the mid lane, HongQ actually coming back to lane alongside Vladi, and being able to win out in a couple of these trades really is sort of helping out this Viktor in getting that lane control that we know him for.
Keep your eyes on the minimap as well, just because of what the supports are up to. You'll notice Kaiwing actually pathing towards bot, gonna shift his path up a little bit more now towards mid lane, but level 4 from mid laners with the support involvement is a crucial time window. Targamas is in a position, and here come the junglers. Everyone is here in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is a party now. Vladi is very low though, so I don't think the KC are going to be able to find too much. Just HongQ picking up this wave, and a bit of a reset is going to come through afterwards. Dragon up and available, possibly somewhere that CFO want to look at. But Targamas just gets control ward down, moves back down towards Caliste, and we have everything calming down. It's the LoL Park vibes, it's the LCK chill mode here in the early game. You love to see it.
Like, I can do Pokemon Gen 1, Gen 2, but like, after that, I'm kind of limited.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you not been doing the card game app thingy?
There's a card game app thingy?
Yeah, there is. It's pretty cool. Oh. You get to collect all the cards and stuff, and you do learn about some of the new ones.
Oh, the recent card cult gathering that I've been dragged into is Magic.
Oh, yeah. I saw that, because didn't Medic, like, learn the game or something to... Oh, sorry, no, you learned the game for Medic's birthday. Yeah. That was very cute.
His bachelor party. Yeah.
Sorry, yes. But I'll get something right.
But it's very addictive. I have to be very cautious.
Are you a mono red player?
No.
I only know that because LS used to talk about it. I know that's an aggressive...
I just like to annoy people, so every move that I make is basically determined to wind people up. Now, Grubs have spawned, and it looks like both teams are set on contesting this.
Yeah. JunJia already dealing with one of them. As we can see, Kaiwing looking for an opportunity. He is itching to press that Zenith Blade button. A couple of those grubs go over, though, and it looks like CFO going to be able to get all of them.
One smite did come through from Yike, so he ended up stealing one away. So it's a 1-for-1, and it will be an advantage gained overall for CFO. But CFO, they're a team that loves to fight. And if JunJia's in the area, the team is very keen and ready to follow on his initiations, whether that be from Kaiwing or him making the plays himself. Now, you can see that KC was in a position, but they respected the opposition and decided it wasn't worth getting that down and dirty this early into the game.
Yeah, it actually feels like CFO as well are playing far more reserved than I was expecting.
Yeah.
After what we saw from them, especially in their final, with things not necessarily going super well in the early game, but they just get it together when it comes to later stages. Right now, seems pretty together just in general. And they have a composition that is very, very happy to go the distance, I would say.
I agree. I mean, I think it suits their style. They are very team fight focused. They love the 5v5s, and they're less about trying to catch you on sides rather than more about objective spawning. Let's go for the fight. I'm ready to take you on. And this composition just complements that style beautifully. And I think that we talked about it in draft. The onus of responsibility does fall on KC to execute on that target selection, and I think that was a big problem for them yesterday. Their coordination was completely off.
That was a bit weird. As Kaiwing does go in, nice little bit of damage onto Targamas, but he's not going to be too worried about it.
Oh, nice damage there from Doggo.
Yeah. Doesn't even have his Sheen completed yet, and still those Mystic shots hurting quite a lot.
The Dragon's actually going to be started off, so thanks to the aggression that we've got from Doggo and Kaiwing in the bot lane, they've been able to get prio. Ultimate's going to come through to try and chip away at their HP a little bit more, but crucially in the mid lane, Vladi just losing out on these trades. And we talked about this Viktor and the range advantage you have, especially once you get that upgraded E. It's just so easy for you to push and poke, and the champion can be extremely oppressive especially against a champion like Aurora. So nice control in the early game around these objectives from CFO.
Well, JunJia still going to be able to get the stun. There's the Impale as well as it pulled out from underneath the turret. Targamas going down to 200 health as the teleports roll in. CFO with, I don't know about this one, Vladi. He's going to be able to get himself out of there, but slammed into the wall, and first blood going to Doggo. A phenomenal start here for CFO.
The TP was so slow that it gave CFO so much time to be ready for the arrival of Vladi. A nice punish comes through from JunJia, connecting Vladi into the wall with the Skarner E and setting up for the kill. First blood drawn, and it's CFO to find the early lead.
Oh man, Turtle Port, it really does sometimes strike hard. As we're going to check it out one more time. This Impale, absolutely gorgeous from JunJia, because I thought he was going to be in real trouble underneath this turret.
I completely agree with you. I thought that it was a scary situation. Double flashes come through from the KC bottom lane. And, I mean, you can see the timer ticking down. Vladi knows that I'm going to be in trouble. Has the flash available, doesn't get a chance to use it as the CC comes through from Kaiwing, the follow-up from JunJia, and crucially, it's Doggo that gets that kill as well. So they're going to get him rolling in this early game.
Yeah, the fact that Kaiwing managed to get that Shield of Daybreak before any sort of stealth shenanigans could come in meant that it was pretty much lights out for the new mid laner here for KC. Still not going to be a death nail or anything like that here for the European squad. And we'll just have to see whether they can get themselves back into it because they need to fast.
Yeah, I mean, again, the burden of execution, I feel, heavily falls on KC. CFO have such a straightforward front-to-back composition. You play around the Skarner and the Leona, you use them as a wall, and you can chip away at them with the poke that you have available. The Viktor E, the Ezreal Qs, as long as they're connecting, then it's going to be harder and harder for KC to approach these neutral objectives.
Look at Doggo, just arcane shifting forward. There's going to be a slow from that the Solar Flare, and Doggo just able to get a bunch of damage in response. But when you arcane shift forward like that, it does hurt my brain, you know, because he was so incredibly confident that everything was going to be fine.
He didn't even have a ward in the brush.
Yeah.
It's just,
I was like, there could be a Vi there.
That could have been a Vi there. But hey, he knew he had his team behind him. He felt confident and he trusted them. And that trust ended up paying off. Now Kaiwing and JunJia hovering around the mid lane once again. They're setting up for the grubs with their priority that they have. KC threatening a potential dive on the bot side of the map, but Doggo wisely respects it. He's going to go back to base, spend some of his gold, getting closer to that Trinity Force item spike.
And I think it's so interesting, right? Because there's a lot of drafts that you talk about, like range advantage being really important, and in certain compositions it's less. In this one, it feels like it's massive for this early game that is buying CFO so much time, right? Yep. The fact that Viktor can get so much of his damage down without having to worry about an Aurora, who does benefit so much from being able to layer all of these combos over and over again to put pressure on her opposition, just isn't really a thing. And then on the bottom side of the map, Doggo as well, Mystic Shot, going to be able to outrange this Kaisa for sort of the neutral that they're playing down there. And these are compounding advantages for CFO as they get further into the game. What KC need to do is really start some of these mid-game skirmishes where they can get this composition doing what it wants. Because you mentioned target selection. Cease and desist, very good at selecting target.
Certainly is.
You know?
Yeah.
I know that. That's my level of analysis there.
It sees you and it desists you from doing said thing.
She actually just selects someone.
Yep.
And that is
quite
the
right. Now, the downside of that is that sometimes...
You can't deselect?
Yes. and crucially, others, even if a target is selected, that individual can still select where you end up. So if Ezreal presses E and flash, your destination is no longer your selection.
Exactly.
It's Ezreal's.
Reminds me of Hecarim, you know, from back in the day, where he's like, I'm engaging, but then he's 7 screens away.
You know, back in the day when I used to scrim, back in Season 3, okay, I was a jungler, right? And what my teammates used to say is that I'm doing what's known as the Jarvan effect, which is
I'm Jarvan, I'm helping.
The EQ flash R, and you've engaged, and then you turn back and you see your team on the horizon, you know, a distance away, and you're like, why didn't you follow up? And it's like, well, some can travel further than others in League of Legends.
There was a beautiful Samuel Broadley moment back in the OPL with that exact situation. I certainly understood all of these Jarvan memes. Shout out to Spooks. But let's get back into this game because we do have a dragon spawning in 10 seconds time. Going to be a Cloud coming up next. Let's see what soul we're going to get.
CFO leading in the dragon department. KC keen to contest this, especially given that Canna has made his way down, has the TP available, but with the Eclipse ready, he's going to have a lot of damage at his disposal. Here comes the flank.
He's going to get the flash out as HongQ just held in position. There is the public execution as JunJia gets 3 in the Impale. Targamas over the wall, but they are outmanned. There's a true shot barrage onto 3 though, and KC are on the wrong side of the map with not a whole lot of health bar to speak of. Yike able to get himself out of there, but JunJia is over that wall immediately. Not a lot of damage following after this fight, but he'll still get slammed into the wall, given that sunlight and taken down. And KC just getting tidied up around this map. It was a decent pick to start things off, but I don't think they had much of a plan after that.
I mean, the combo from JunJia and Rest was just devastating. Getting a 3-man impale, keeping them on the red carpet to just chip away at their HP, completely turn the tides in CFO's favor.
Kaiwing looking for even more here as Doggo raining the damage down. There's another kill for this Ezreal. Kaiwing looking to make his way out as now it's Canna's turn to teleport in. Kaiwing should be a sitting duck, but does manage to get the CC. He'll take out the Leona, but now Doggo wanting to chase after the Ambessa here. A lot of damage raining through these mystic shots. All of them hitting. He's under the turret. He has the barrier though, and he'll be safe. Canna gets himself out of there as well, but Doggo, yep, no, we got the message.
Karna able to salvage that situation after the dive comes through from CFO. A lot of trading back and forth. The Dragon did end up going down to CFO, but let's look back at this as Yike goes over the wall. The target is locked in as HongQ gets CC'd. The chain CC from the Ambessa by combo is good, but look at this impale. The Rumble combination is beautiful as Targamas is forced to flash over the wall. The bottom lane of CFO disconnected from the team, but then when they realize that the HP bars on the side of KC kind of are as low as they are, they realize they can turn this into a favorable position. They get 2 kills, ends up being a 2-for-2 overall, factoring in the skirmish on the top side of the map, end up securing the Dragon. I think CFO is still very happy with how things played out.
Yeah, I think definitely not a bad sign for CFO, but I think signs of life from KC are going to be great because they need to keep pulling this trigger over and over again. As we can see, I imagine there's a lot of mixed emotions in our crowd here in LOL Park right now.
You gotta remember that with this fan base, they are blindingly loyal, okay? There is always a positive to take away from every situation. And hey, it's only a 2K deficit from the side of KC, but as you rightly said, it feels like that the game is only gonna get harder and harder to play as it continues, as the Herald started off by JunJia.
Yeah, JunJia is becoming a problem as well. You can see that health bar is starting to look very difficult to get through.
Ooh.
As Doggo, taking a big chunk. Canna now looking for his angle off to the side, smacked into the wall. There's the impale onto 1. As also Vladi getting that ultimate in there. A lot of damage as Caliste. Killer Instinct into the backline. JunJia takes down Yike though, and he's so tanky. It is absolutely absurd. True shot barrage, but Doggo's so low he can't actually get into the fight once again. This flame spitter just not quite enough. And Doggo, he just doesn't want to risk it. KC playing with these health bars beautifully.
Doggo forced out of the fight quite early, means that he wasn't able to distribute a lot of damage in that fight, and it gave, with the numbers advantage that KC have, that small edge enough to win up. You saw even with that numbers advantage how close the fight still was. A really nice Rumble ultimate did a lot of damage onto the backline. And again, in terms of the actual execution, things just didn't quite go the way that CFO wanted. Still, the Herald alive, the kills have been equalized, the gold still in favor of CFO.
Yep, speaking of gold, you can see the MasterCard lane economy snapshot letting us know that CFO is still feeling very comfortable outside of Canna having a good time on that top side. Let's have a look at this fight one more time though, as JunJia, I think this being a single man ulti was a big difference maker in this fight.
Certainly was. Yike dropped very early, but look at Doggo in this situation. Not really able to contribute a lot to the fight. Does get the ultimate down onto Caliste, but Caliste is free hitting onto these members of CFO, which just really was that turning point. Vladi also doing a good job of zoning the remaining members away, but the Herald will still go down in favor of CFO. In terms of the objectives, they have just been dominating throughout this game.
Yeah, and I was looking for the eye. You know, I was going down, checking out the summoner spells and stuff like that to see where the eye was going to be at, and couldn't find it. And that was because, yeah, like you said, the Herald not even picked up at all. And so now, finally, it is going to go over to JunJia. So that means that this mid-outer turret could be going down, but they could also throw it here towards the top side. As you can see, HongQ with his little voidlings having a pretty good time just wailing on this one. And with the fact that it's like they've just had a monopoly on all of these objectives all over the map. 5 grubs going over to CFO. And this is the team that's very happy to go late. If we remember, Kaiwing throws his umbrella towards Caliste, but isn't going to be able to find any joy. But he's, every time he is in range for a Zenith Blade, he will press that button.
Certainly will. I mean, I love the confidence that we're seeing from both Kaiwing and JunJia. Like, they're engaged consistently, finding onto the right targets. As you rightly said, in the previous fight, locking down Yike, probably not as optimal as they would have liked, but still, the fact that it ended up only being a 2-for-1 and they still get the objective as the flank now comes through. The TP was spotted. That's a deep flank,
That is a really deep flank. And then you've got the opposing flank to come in from Canna. That was really cool. Looked like, you know, they were pulling shapes on the map here, but it didn't really result in too much of anything at all.
Did not really at all.
The turret didn't go down.
True.
It's on about 6 health.
Now who's Mr. Brightside over here,
Hey,
right?
no, I mean, the KC fans are infectious, and there's a lot of them here. You know, I'm a bit outnumbered, and I'm learning. I'm definitely learning.
Dragon in 20 seconds. Remember that CFO find themselves with 2 so far. They're looking to put themselves on soul point.
Yeah, they do have the shoes of strength, very strong shoes.
Oh, that they do.
As JunJia looking for that opportunity. On a ward right now is Kaiwing. Gonna get publicly executed. Okay, they dive in, they take her down immediately. JunJia crashing them against the wall. Canna going to be getting himself out of there as now Rest deciding that perhaps that wasn't the teleport angle he was looking for. A cease and desist on top of the rumble. He flashes out of there, but the double knockup from Targamas is massive. Equalizer just trying to buy them some space, and it's Yike that goes down. CFO, why did that work?
The target focus from KC was off. Very similar to what we saw yesterday. Vi locking down the rumble, but Targamas goes for the backline. He sees an angle where he can lock up the 280 carries and they can turn it around. But Yike has already used his ultimate. The only real follow-up that they had came through from Caliste, and it just wasn't enough. So CFO was able to turn the fight around, and again, crucially, look at the target focus. So already an ultimate gets used from Canna to lock down the support. So nice initial pick. We then see the rest of the fight as Yike is looking for a flank angle. Rest is forced to disengage, and look at how Yike goes on to Rest. Meanwhile, Targamas goes on to both Doggo and HongQ, and the idea is good, but that rumble to immediately dissuade them means that Yike is now way too deep, because the rest of his team have kind of fixated on a different target. Meanwhile, the Dragon goes down in CFO's favor, and it's just another advantage game for CFO.
That's Infernal Soul point that they have now as well. Infernal Soul for this incredibly tanky composition. I say tanky composition because it has Skarner and Leona.
Yep.
They're basically the only ones, but that's all you really need. How do you ever kill JunJia in this game if, you know, he keeps up this level of advantage, and he's going to do damage. Like, that mediates the nerf. You know, the Q damage is going to be absolutely fine. Don't you worry.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Well, it's an interesting discussion when it comes to nerfs around champions, right? Because
and you can do that now because we're in a pause. You can discuss
That's
whatever
exactly
you'd like.
why I'm going.
That's beautiful.
I learned from the best. I mean, I learned from the best.
And you are in the seat.
Seamless transitions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gorgeous.
So when it comes to champions, we know that pro players, they see a patch note and they go, well, champ's dead.
Yep.
Right? It is the classic, okay? And I mean, you know, Riot have even said themselves that they will do placebo buffs. You know, we'll give 5 attack damage, 5 movement speed to a champ, just so that it reminds people that this champ is in the game. And then people give it a go and they're like, oh, wow, this champ is really great. And we're like, yeah, it was that 5, whatever we gave them. And I think that when you see Skarner getting these nerfs, people immediately go, oh, champ's dead. But you got to remember that the base kit of the champ is still just very strong.
Yeah, some Q damage is not going to stop him driving you into a wall, stopping you from doing anything forever, and then you're dead.
And so far, we've seen JunJia land a 3-man impale, a 2-man impale. He is just, I don't know how to say this without sounding inappropriate, but he has successfully prevented KC members from moving due to the excessive crowd control that has been implemented once they have made contact with the wall.
You used a lot of really cool words in that sentence. That was a fun sentence.
It was just better than saying they got rammed into a wall, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that particular way of CCing someone has been explained in more explicit terms.
Quite right.
You can talk to Ejim about that one.
Okay.
We accidentally put it on the broadcast. It was a long time ago, and we're not going to say it again. For those who are former OPL fans, you may remember, and I am not going to repeat.
Now, when we have more information, we will, of course, share it with you.
Yeah, we haven't actually been caught up with too much of what's happened here, but I imagine that we will be getting back in as soon as possible.
Might I just say,
in fact,
by
I
the
can
way,
see some stuff happening on the
Before
screen.
we get there, but this arena is absolutely lovely.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's a beautiful place to be.
Oh.
I really enjoy the atmosphere, and it's a really nice arena. So I know you did nothing.
No,
I
didn't.
You praise.
And in fact, Papa is part of the reason why we have an English broadcast that's here in the arena.
That's awesome.
So we can thank Papa Smithy, but that's still not.
That's still but thank you, Atlus, for bringing us the joy that you always do whenever you jump onto the caster desk.
Vedi.
Now, admittedly, EU is quite stressed at the moment, so they're going to need some of that joy almost immediately because the game is slipping away from KC. And as a reminder, this is a really important game for KC, especially given that their games do not get any easier.
Yeah, Caliste, he had full health a little while ago, and Doggo saw to that. Great arcane shift, but he still gets knocked up. Caliste gets into that back line, but the equalizer still just being annoying in this fight. Targamas going to be the first to go down, and Canna, he's going to try and dash his way out, but of course, he's smacked into the wall and taken down. Shut down here for HongQ as well, whose Viktor is just been quietly doing a bajillion damage in so many of these fights. Now moving down towards this bottom side of the map here as CFO, they don't have a dragon to take or anything like that, but there is the voracious Rakan. We've been getting a lot of Ruinuses. I actually was looking forward to my first Ruinous Rakan, and we don't get it. It's just going to be the voracious version. And we are going to get the GAs. The way I like to break them up, if you've got Rod of Ages, Rakan, and you've got GA Rakan.
I see.
And this is the GA that we've got. I really want Rod of Ages, man.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, it's a long day still.
That is true. That is true.
Based on how this game is going, I know that a lot of EU is hoping that this goes all the way. As we see good target focus here. Doggo is the target that they look to lock down. It seems he's out of position initially. The CC is good, but look at the Rumble ultimate is so good from Rest. And the follow-up damage just isn't quite there after Doggo also commits the flash. And this is the problem that KC find themselves. They're really good in terms of their composition at locking down a single target. But if you don't kill that target quickly enough, the rest of the group is going to rejoin with their team, and in the front to back, it's way easier for CFO to execute. And I think we saw this very similarly yesterday with Team Liquid. When you draft these very traditional, easy to execute front to back compositions, it takes a lot of the burden of responsibility away, and I think CFO is really benefiting from that. Yeah,
we've actually seen this in international competition throughout the years, right? If it's your first game, if nerves are a factor, scaling is the way, right? You put that pressure on your opposition to make things happen, and otherwise you just try and play for neutral. Just try and keep things as even as possible. As we found a pick towards his top side, Rest getting taken down low, but he does, of course, have the Rakan buff. That is going to take one of those recoveries away and does give some money over. But Vladi, he's real dead. That's actual dead. And so that 1-for-1 is not going to be a 1-for-1 at all.
I'm impressed that every single pick that KC finds, CFO find a way to trade it back.
Yeah.
That consistently throughout this game, it's always 1-to-1. Yeah, it's just so quick. They're able to avenge their top laner. And while KC set their sights...
Can they do it again? And do they even have to? Because now it could be Caliste that's in trouble. Public execution just to get Canna out of there. Caliste gonna have to use that cleanse and the flash in order to escape, and I don't think it's gonna be enough. Doggo, arcane shift forward, cheeky auto attack, and that is a dead Kaisa. And CFO are really starting to run away with this game now.
I mean, from start to finish, I think they've played this composition to perfection. They had the pushing lanes, they leveraged their prio. JunJia was securing every single early game objective. I mean, CFO have just dominated KC in this first game. And now they've set their sights on the Baron.
Yep, Baron going to be started up. I don't think this is a full commit. As you can see, JunJia just throwing a boulder at it.
I mean, the Soul spawning in, what, 40 seconds?
I reckon that one's going to be a priority.
I think it certainly will be. And at this point, you have to feel like the KC composition really has been outscaled. I don't think that they have the damage, really, to lock down either Doggo or HongQ. But, I mean, HongQ still has his flash available. He's also got himself the Zhonya's. The barrier is available. No flash for Doggo, but even then, even if you kill him, I feel like at this point, JunJia and Rest have enough damage between the two of them.
This is the problem. It's a 3-threat comp, and all of the threats scale incredibly well. Maybe not necessarily the Rumble as much, but Rest has been playing it exceptionally as, okay, they don't land the solar flare, but there's another two-man impale from JunJia, and look at it, he hasn't even lost health. It is absurd. Canna trying to dash around the fight, but he dashes to the death chamber instead. And Yike, he's run in the wrong direction, and he's not going to be getting out of this one. Once again, Doggo just hops over, Mystic Shot for the kill, and he's now 5-0-4. He'll have an Infernal Soul in hand. They can take a Baron if they like, but they could also just take 50 gold from a Nexus, I think.
I mean, KC have just melted. Look at the, I mean, the engage from Kaiwing falls apart completely, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I love how JunJia brings it back as well into the Ezreal ultimate on top of the Rumble ultimate. It's just, we talked about range earlier. look at the range.
Yeah, it's not fair at all.
It's not fair whatsoever. KC, they're just getting systematically torn apart. CFO playing with nothing but confidence. And, I mean, they're looking to take this first game of this best of 3.
It's looking clean. You can understand why there's excitement here. As Driver as well, I love the energy. These two top laners, interchangeable, but they vibe so well together. It's not like a competition between the two. It's just that they're both on the team, and they're used in different ways. Absolutely beautiful use of substitution.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you, especially as a long-time LCK commentator, have seen these multi-man rosters kind of prove to not be that effective. But in this format, where specific champions get removed, you can really start to see how different playstyles can offer a lot of value.
Yeah. No, I actually think that it's going to get more and more valuable. I also think that coaches are going to be more and more important moving forward. Understanding exactly what combos are available as you get to a Game 5 is a massive task with all of the champions that will be removed by that stage. We're talking about things that are sort of around the game as, you know, Barons are being taken and the game is being won here by CFO, because there are not a lot of ways back in here for KC, unfortunately, as Kaiwing finding a little combo here onto Targamas, who's still Rakan, and so eventually gets to press a button or two, and that gets him to safety. But yeah, Doggo, free reign here on this bottom side. He'll be able to take an inner turret. That is going to be the last one of them available on the map. Only inhibitors to go down next as Yike. I mean, you have to do this, right? You have to go for the ultimate deep flank of all time. Try and find the angle. Who his target's going to be, I have no idea.
Yeah, look at the positioning of Doggo right now as well. Playing comfortably behind his front line. He's even saying, go after HongQ. It's fine. Target him instead of me. He's got the Zhonya's available, level 16. And
my God.
Look at the poke.
Death Ray has never been named more accurately. As, Caliste going to be going back to the fountain to mend his wounds. First inhibitor to go down. As Rest chasing after Canna. He was the one that was going for the flank angle this time around as Yike makes his way back to his team. But look at this poke. KC just have nothing to offer back. We mentioned that range before, but when you have this kind of range advantage and then just a massive lead, it's just slow, steady destruction of KC's base.
They're just letting the Canna minions do the work for them, and why not? Now Rest brings the minion wave into mid. Another tower is going to fall, and KC, I mean, it feels impossible to win a fight at this point anyway, but they're going to have to try and pull the trigger soon.
Yeah, or it's decide on what to do in Game 2. Because one more Nexus turret is left up and available. CFO, what an incredible debut here at first stand. As JunJia underneath this turret, just going to pull Yike away. Cease and desist comes through. They do manage to take down the Skarner for the first time. That's looking good. But now Doggo is unleashed. The rest of KC, their Nexus is exposed. Caliste needs to go back to the fountain once again as Targamas looking for that engage into that backline. Rest, though, just melts them. He's a walking barbecue, and yeah, he goes down, but so does KC's Nexus. CFO picking up their first win here in first stand. An
impressive performance from CFO as they keep it simple, keep it straightforward.
Yeah, man.
And a team that was kind of driven by JunJia, a player that loves to be aggressive. I mean, he used their prio incredibly well, and they executed to perfection.
Absolutely amazing stuff there from CFO. It is time to hear from the desk. Where is the KC Hopium? Bring it to us. That'll be after the break.